When I was a child, I used to love Christmas as much as anyone else my age. Every year my family would decorate the living room and get a tree, and we'd dress it up with baubles. I usually didn't do a great job, I'd put everything too close together, but my mother would fix it later on. I remember the anxiety I'd feel on the night of Christmas Eve, so much that it was difficult to fall asleep. We even left out a glass of milk and biscuits for Santa, along with a carrot for the reindeers. I'd usually wake up the next morning, usually far too early, and saw that Santa had been, and began eagerly opening the presents under the tree, starting with the biggest and ending with the presents that I found in my stocking. I'd spend the rest of the day playing with the toys I received for trying to stay on Santa's nice list all year long, ate candy, watched holiday movies and TV specials, and sat down with my family to eat a big meal. It was all very comforting. Magical, even. When I was about 7 years old, I found out that Santa wasn't real. I was looking around the house in December and found wrapped presents in the basement. I told my mother about it, and she told me that they had to wrap the presents before sending them off to Santa, so he could deliver them to us on the day. Even though I was young and naive, I knew that logistically that didn't make any sense. The illusion had been dispelled, and I pretended to believe, probably just to make my parents happy, plus I still got to enjoy the day. As I grew older though, the veneer of Christmas and everything I loved about it began to fade with each passing year. As the veil of childhood began to slowly rise, I learned more about the world around me. The holidays came to represent something more negative, and my anticipation for them was gradually replaced by trepidation. I noticed the exhaustion on the faces of parents, overworked store employees desperately trying to accommodate the needs of customers while trying to wear a smile on their face, excessive and grotesque consumerism, the spoiled children crying in toy stores, demanding that they have more and more. Turmoil had also found its way into my family, and Christmas days were often accompanied by arguments and extended family members who went out of their way to be difficult in any way that they could. In my early teens, the shine of Christmas and the holidays had completely worn off. My mother still tried her best to make the day great, and I'd always be thankful of that. But at this point, I was happy to sleep in when the morning came around. I'd open presents and just let the day happen like it was any other. Was I being cynical? Maybe. But I was jaded, and ever since then it's felt like an obligation to feel the spirit of the holidays, to find a feeling in me that simply doesn't exist anymore, nor am I capable of feigning or recreating it, and it begins to feel like I'm being pressured into going along with things, that there's something wrong with me because I'm unable to feel the joy and excitement that many others do. The holidays aren't for everyone, and I'd like to explain why I and many others just want some space. It seems like the moment the clock strikes midnight on November 1st, the world begins to prepare for the holidays, especially Christmas. If you've been in a grocery store in the evening on Halloween, then you'll find an employee or two taking down the seasonal candy and other assorted bric-a-brac off the shelves and replacing it with Christmas products. The festive signage goes up and trees and decorations appear inside and out. And of course, the ever-important Christmas music is put on constant repeat for the next 2 months. If you've ever worked retail, I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that one of the most agonizing aspects of working the holidays is hearing the same songs over and over again. Mariah Carey should be tried for crimes against humanity for making All I Want for Christmas Is You. Everywhere you go from here until December 25th relentlessly reminds you that 'tis the season to be jolly, to the point of being obnoxious. More notably though, barely a moment goes by where you're not being told to spend money. Spend it on decorations, food, greeting cards, gift cards, novelty clothing, and most importantly, gifts. There are some people who really love finding the perfect gift for that special person. There's a sense of anticipation to see how happy and surprised they are when they finally open it. Even I can say that it's great to see my wife's face light up when I get her something nice. On the other hand, gift giving and excess spending have practically become an obligation. We've been raised since birth to believe that the holidays and gifting are inseparably intertwined, to the point where the holiday without them feels incomplete. That obligation comes with pressure though, that not only do people have to give gifts, but they have to be good and often expensive. I don't have to tell you this, but there are countless people, especially in younger generations like millennials and Gen Z, who simply can't afford to live up to the expectations that have been set, and failing to do so can be upsetting. I've had times in my life where I've been completely broke and I've not been able to give anything, and it made me feel like garbage, especially since people still gave me something. It didn't matter that they understood my situation, it still felt like I did something wrong. It's around this time of year where people become obscenely materialistic, and it can happen without you even noticing. Giving and receiving can be stressful in their own ways, not to mention that there are people out there who are just spoiled and nothing that you can get them will be good enough, even if it's a brand new Lexus with a giant bow on it. Also, did you know that Lexus dealerships don't actually even give you a free bow, even if you do happen to buy one as a gift? Yeah, I didn't know this until recently either. Even if you drop 87 grand on a Lexus SUV, the best they'll do is let you borrow a bow. Unbelievable. This might be a bit more of a personal thing, but the grotesque amount of spending and consumerism is something that tends to rub me the wrong way around the holidays. The entire season is just filled with the overwhelming stench of capitalism, and no amount of festive spirit can mask it. To be clear, I'm not saying that there's anything inherently wrong with buying nice and/or expensive gifts, unless it's a Lexus. But as you mature and you start to notice how aggressive corporations and their marketing can be, it's become all the more apparent how they're trying to convince you that you're not spending enough, or burden consumers with the fear of missing out, or FOMO. They want it to be so that when someone sees something on sale, they gotta have it. Black Friday as a term originated in Philadelphia in the early 50s, when chaos would ensue the day after Thanksgiving due to so many people going shopping, because the day after that there was going to be an Army-Navy football game. Retailers eventually had the idea to take advantage of this phenomenon and held their biggest sales of the year, and the concept eventually spread across America and eventually the entire world, even though in other countries it's not even preceded by Thanksgiving. Also, I have lost count of how many Americans have asked me, a British person, do the British celebrate Thanksgiving, or even the 4th of July? They really do think that they're the center of the universe. Also, even though we've done a bunch of colonizing in our time, we don't really tend to celebrate it that much because we're embarrassed about it. Some of us are. Black Friday became an event in which bloodthirsty customers queued outside of stores in the morning, or even set up camp the moment that they finished dessert from their Thanksgiving dinner. Also, they could storm the entrance to buy the doorbuster deals, something like a 42-inch TV for $99 that usually costs $150 and is from a brand that you've never heard of. Even in the UK, we've embraced Black Friday with open arms. It was around 2014 when stores there tried to follow the same model as those in America, and it was an unmitigated disaster. Retailers got what they wanted, people pushed against locked doors as employees gingerly opened them in hopes of not being trampled to death, and as soon as they let them in, they flooded the shop floors, pushing and shoving others, abandoning their humanity in hopes of saving a few quid on something that they didn't really need in the first place. You see this here? Yeah, this is from Tesco in my hometown. I was visiting my then fiance in America when this was happening, and it was so bad that this footage was shown on network news in America. Thankfully, people have started to avoid the whole Black Friday rush, and things have calmed down a little bit in many stores, but this is largely due to people having realized that it's more convenient to find bargains online, especially on places like Amazon. So instead of stressing overworked retail employees, it's fallen on the shoulders of beleaguered Amazon warehouse workers and delivery drivers, who even outside of the holidays are stretched so thin that they're urinating in Gatorade bottles just to keep up. It's really hard to take joy in finding that perfect gift when you know what people had to go through to get it to you. And a lot of retail workers don't even get a Thanksgiving, since many stores remain open on the day just to start their sales then, just to cater to people's insatiable need to buy slightly discounted goods that they don't need. You may have noticed that Black Friday has begun to spread across the whole of November with many retailers, which could possibly be a good thing since it means it might spread the workload across a month rather than a single day, but nevertheless, this is all just a way of making you spend as much as possible. In fact, I'd argue that you're probably more likely to spend more since it means you get to make an entire month to make impulse purchases rather than just a day or two. All of this just so we can avoid disappointing the people that we love, because getting the right gift is so important. Gift giving is one thing, but the holidays and the idea of togetherness comes with its own issues. Every single year we see endless amounts of movies and TV specials that espouse how the holidays are special, and the most important thing about it is spending time with those you love. That it's not about the presents or making sure the day goes perfectly, but appreciating those in your life and how that everything else in the holidays doesn't matter if you don't have people to share it with. Before we go any further, I'd like to ask you to take a moment to take a short ride on the Boost Bus. I like to dedicate some time in each video to promote a smaller content creator's work who could do with more exposure. This time I want to show you the work of digital artist Lorissa Schaefer. Lorissa originally started out in the field of psychology and sociology after graduating from college, but after finding the profession took too much of a toll on her mental health, she decided to pursue her life's ambition and become an artist. Her work is inspired by the aesthetic pleasures found in the environment and various everyday objects, especially those that are quaint, curious, and retro. As you can see, her style uses bold line work paired with vibrant coloring, which has been influenced by old-school tattooing techniques and the super graphic ultra-modern movement. It's what I would describe as pleasingly garish and kitsch. If you'd like to follow and support Lorissa, you can do so on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, each using the same handle at larissa.schaefer. You can also support her by buying prints of her work at larissa-schaefer.square.site. I'll leave these links in the description below, so please take a moment to support smaller creators in any way that you can. Even a follow goes a very long way. If you'd like a ride on a Boost Bus, then please send one email to salarivideo@gmail.com. Be sure to include your pronouns, a short bio about yourself and your work, along with samples, links to your socials, and your website if that's applicable. I won't be able to reply to your emails due to the volume, but know that they are all being read. Also, please don't use this email to send me your opinions on what I say in videos because you believe that it's too important for the comment section. It's really just egotistical. Also, one real quick thing, I'd like to promote the YouTube channel Mulverine. He makes videos discussing and analysing The Office, and his big project right now is to review every single episode of the show. Recently he produced a video talking about the episode Scott's Tots, which has been dubbed by many as the episode that's so cringe-inducing that they just can't watch it. Along with some other creators, Mulverine invited me to write a segment about the episode, so please check it out. Links are in the description. He does really great work, so if you like it, be sure to subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff. It really does help out. He wants to reach 20k subs by the end of the year, so let's give him a hand. Anyway, back to the video. To some extent, spending time with those who are closest to you is one of the better aspects of the holidays. Spending time with others you care about can be a great thing. Being able to have that one day a year where you can just all be together and not have to worry too much about everything else. Unless you're the one doing the cooking, then it's a goddamn nightmare. Unfortunately, quite a few people don't get to enjoy this to the extent that they would hope for. The simple fact is that some families do not get along with each other, be they immediate or distant relatives. And this isn't just a situation where you're dealing with the black sheep of the family who gets drunk on sherry before lunchtime. I'm talking about the deeper issues with family members, like the kind of thing that turns out to be a running theme in your therapy sessions and defines your interactions with the world. Some families do not get along with each other, that's a given. Or there are sometimes those who feel like they don't belong, and being told that this feeling of togetherness is so important, it can feel incredibly alienating of an experience to be in the presence of those that you share genes with, and you end up feeling like a complete outsider. Growing up, I was that outsider in my family. We'd all gather together at my parents' house, but I never really felt comfortable trying to go along with everything. I didn't really have anyone to talk to, and no one really felt compelled to talk to me, except for maybe my cousin. I'd make some general chit-chat and thank my aunt for yet another set of toiletries, but that's about it. Actually, let me ask you a question. If you're someone that gets toiletries, perfumes, or fragrances every year, did you ever wonder if they're trying to subtly tell you that you stink and they're too polite to say anything? Because I did. I enjoy a good fragrance, don't get me wrong, but in my lifetime I've received enough deodorant sets to knock out an elephant. I guess at the very least these gatherings aren't as bad as work holiday parties. I'm so glad that I never have to spend an evening talking to my slightly tipsy manager who's doing their best impression of being a normal person outside of the office, and not some emotionless sellout who'd fire you in a heartbeat if you made a single mistake at work. Yeah, screw you, Joanne. You were a terrible manager and a worse person. I have no regrets about stealing all of those supplies. Being alone is one thing, but being surrounded by people who make you feel alone can be far worse. It can be made all the more difficult when people get criticized for not getting involved with the festivities too, leading to many conflicted feelings. You can be there wanting to be involved, to enjoy yourself and be close to your family, but thanks to that anxiety, depression, or alienation, your brain just doesn't permit it. It just adds salt to the wound when you end up with loved ones who tell you that you're just being difficult, that you're a Grinch or a Scrooge that just wants to ruin things for everyone else. As much as the holidays leave a bitter taste in my mouth, I would love to be able to get into these things as much as others do. So telling someone that they're being this way on purpose is not only insulting, but is kind of cruel, and it shows an unwillingness to try and understand another person's feelings. It's like telling a depressed person, well, why don't you just try being happy? Oh wow, I didn't realize that was an option. Thanks for the advice. I guess I can throw away all this Prozac now. You can't just expect people to feel things. It's unfair to them. One thing I would have really appreciated when I was going through these times is for a loved one to simply sit down with me, ask me how I'm feeling, and just ask if there's anything that they could do to make things easier. And honestly, I think a lot of people, myself included, would say that they just want space, that they don't want to feel obligated to be involved in things too much. I'd ask those that are having a hard time that if they want to do some activities like play a game, I'd appreciate it if they asked me if I want to join in, but be okay if I refuse. I don't blame my family for not knowing how to accommodate me during the holidays. Much like depression, it can be the case where you want people to reach out to you and ask what's on your mind, since you're too afraid to ask for help. And at the same time, those around you might not know how to handle you. Being treated as an inconvenience is the truly difficult part though. So if you're someone who is filled with the holiday spirit and you have that person or persons in your family that looks like they're having a hard time, just ask what you can do for them. Try to understand what they need to make the day just a little bit better. Mental health struggles aren't at all uncommon around this time of year. Around the holiday season, there's a significant spike in people reporting depression and anxiety to medical professionals. You've probably heard the term the holiday blues before, and maybe shrugged it off, but it is most definitely a real phenomenon. For starters, many experience seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, a term which I'm sure whoever came up with it was very proud of themselves. It can be caused by drops in temperature, an increase in what some consider bad weather, like rain, and most notably a decrease in daylight hours. People who have pre-existing mental health issues are particularly susceptible to a decline in mood. According to a survey by the National Alliance on Mental Illness, approximately 64% of people who were previously diagnosed with mental health issues reported that the holidays made their condition a lot worse or somewhat worse. The reasons behind this decline included feelings of loneliness, financial stress, too much pressure, unrealistic expectations, being unable to be with loved ones, and remembering happier times in the past and how they contrast with the present. That last one can be a pretty big deal. We all experience loss, and that first holiday without someone you care about can feel like the occasion is incomplete. I lost my uncle to cancer when I was a teenager, and I still fondly remember him getting drunk and singing Roy Orbison songs on Christmas Day. It was a little bit annoying at times, but that first year without him felt empty. The funny thing is that even though being around my family at Christmas used to make me feel annoyed and alienated, I still miss it. As you may know, I moved to the US a while back to be with my wife, and it's been 6 years since I spent Christmas with my immediate family. My wife and her family have been wonderful and understanding when it comes to my feelings around the holidays. Christmas is a fairly low pressure occasion, and we even do a little something for Hanukkah since my wife is Jewish on her mother's side. But despite all the annoyances with my family, I still miss them. It's weird and confusing, but it's these kinds of conflicting emotions that can make things difficult for people. Even those who do feel the holiday spirit aren't immune. In a survey conducted by the American Psychological Association, they found that even though the majority of their respondents said that they had feelings of happiness, love, and high spirits over the holiday, they reported that they were accompanied by fatigue, stress, irritability, bloating, and sadness. I feel like it's also worth noting the misconception that there's an increase in people taking their own lives during the holidays. It's a commonly held belief, but there's solid evidence that actually shows the opposite. November, December, and January actually have the lowest rates in the US. The highest rate is from April to August. I really do believe that we need to do a better job at recognizing people's needs during the holiday. We focus so much on the material needs of the ones that we love and even strangers, but it's easy to neglect their emotional needs. Attitudes towards mental health have generally been improving, but it can feel like during the holidays, people are constantly being pressured into feeling the spirit of the season, and as a result, they feel like they're abnormal for not doing so. We all have our reasons for feeling the way that we do at any time of year, not just the holidays. And as much as we can recommend that people recognize the good in their lives so that they might feel better, it can be hard to forget the loss or absence of other good things. It can be hard to look past the pressure, the rampant commercialism, and how the holidays represent that another year has gone by, that time's arrow is ever moving, unstoppable, and at times relentless. It takes those we love, it causes health to decline, dulled senses, and inevitably we go the way of all flesh. I'm sure some people might think that I'm overthinking something as simple as adding another year to the calendar and maybe being a little grim, but it's a real concern, even a fear to some. I can safely attest that losing time is probably my greatest fear. I don't like thinking about how one day I'll just cease to exist, that time may take those I love away from me, and it might be sooner than I think. It's easy to be lulled into a false sense of security and believe that we're all going to be here for the long run, but we never know what tomorrow is going to bring, and a new year can be a cruel reminder that we only have so many tomorrows. I really don't want to think about it, but it's unavoidable, and if someone tells me not to do so, it's like asking a person to not think of an elephant. They're going to do it regardless. So this holiday season, please talk to those that you know are having a hard time, and if you're someone who has difficulties, try to talk to people about it. You'd be surprised how many people feel the same way. We shouldn't be treating the holiday blues as a faux pas. It should be accepted as a natural and normal thing. We're not going to be able to stop retailers or even Lexus dealerships to tone it down with their obnoxious and ever-present marketing efforts, but at the very least we can come to an understanding that excessive spending isn't necessary. In closing, I'd like to offer something a little special for my last video of the year. 2021 has been a bizarre, stressful, yet wonderful year for me since I've been able to do this full time. And it's all thanks to you, the viewers, subscribers, and my generous patrons whose pledges fund these productions. This will be our second holiday season while in the midst of a global pandemic. Jesus Christ, nearly 2 full years of this crap. But conditions have improved enough to make this season safer. So for those of you who find this time of year difficult or even know someone who does, I offer you this poem, which I wrote. Bear in mind I haven't written anything since college, so maybe keep your expectations low. Here goes. When the clock strikes 12 on November the 1st, we hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. For the season's upon us, it's that time of year that fills some with joy and others with fear. Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas and more all empty your wallet when you go to the store. Everywhere you turn, there's ads to a sale. Buy the perfect gift, lest your loved ones will wail. Ensure that your pantry is stuffed to the brim to fill every stomach and delight every whim. The big day comes fast, more than you would hope. The doctor upped your dosage just so you can cope. Your family's arrived, they've opened the gate, except Uncle Gary, he's running a bit late. Your aunt didn't tell you, so you ask her why. He's taken an Uber, he got a 3rd DUI. You head to the gifts sat under the tree, one shaped like a wine bottle, or what could it be? At the sight of their presents all carefully wrapped, the kids turn savage as though they just snapped. They shred up the paper with utmost delight to find new iPads and V-Bucks for Fortnite. You take gifts aside to unwrap alone and find your aunt got you an off-brand cologne. Dinner time comes, you don't know where to sit. Though you share DNA, you know not where you fit. They all like to talk and they all get along, but somehow you feel like you just don't belong. The mood is now low where once it was cheery, as Gary now shares his conspiracy theory. He says vaccines don't work and that we're all just sheep, but he drank too much booze and soon falls asleep. The evening draws near and so do the fights, so you step outside just to look at the lights. Each home has a family of many or few. Each family has a person who feels just like you. The ones across the street light up a menorah. You hear someone shout, "Who spilled wine on the Torah?" It's funny how those who should know you the most make you feel your loneliest or much like a ghost. So to those who may feel merrier at this time of year, try reach out to your loved ones and lend them an ear. Say, I'd like to understand why you're feeling such a way, so maybe even you can have a happy holiday. Thank you for watching, and despite everything, I hope you have a happy holidays, or at the very least, a tolerable one. Thank you all very much for watching, I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Also, if you could click that notification bell right next to the subscribe button, that would be greatly appreciated. It'll let you know whenever I have future uploads so you can catch it the moment that it's been released. I would also like to thank my wonderful patrons who you can see scrolling up here right now. They all chip in a little bit every single month just to keep these videos coming. It really does help with the production of future projects, and I can't thank them enough for their generosity. I would also like to give a special shout out to all of my patrons that donate $5 or more each month. That goes out to Candide, Dan McCrary, Inconspicuous Bosch, Daniel Perrone, Anne-Marie Hanyasova, Freeman Killer, Lizzie Peasy, Insula Sacra, Paulius Jonases, Grant B, Jay, Jordan Christoph, Matthew Torres, Rage, Eleanor, Enrique Gutierrez, Nathan Frerin, Murger Fashionable, Alina, hello, it's Leo, hello, Jay's Reviews, Ratums, Games, Martina, Sanderpanda, Ashton the Platypus, CB Hart, Kevin Korber, Logan Roan, Sharfay, Nostracon, Lexi Weiss, Mickey Bonadonna, Floofpants, Tamara, Neve Mitchell, Marius Stubberud, Your Sweet Pea, Catherine, and lastly, Steve Marr. Thank you all so very much for your help, and like I said, if you do want to support the channel, feel free to do so at patreon.com/Salari. You should see a link at the end of this video. If not, there is one in the description at the bottom. Any amount goes a very, very long way in helping the channel go further. You get all kinds of benefits to this as well, including early access to new videos and also previews of upcoming scripts for new videos as well. And I'm going to be coming up with some more ideas for future benefits for patrons as well, so keep an eye out for that. There's also the Patreon question of the video as well, and this one is from Freeman Killer, who asks, what's your favorite movie or movies and shows? I know you mentioned a couple ones you really like already, but I forgot if you already said which ones are your favorite. I try not to pick favorites per se. Movie-wise, I really like Stanley Kubrick movies. I think Doctor Strangelove is one of the most brilliant satirical movies ever made. I do really like movies by David Fincher. As for modern directors, Denis Villeneuve, Paul Thomas Anderson. But yeah, I don't really have any specific movies. As for shows, a lot of, already quite popular shows like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, but I also love The Leftovers, which was a criminally overlooked show that was on HBO a few years back by Damon Lindelof. Incredible show. I highly recommend you watch it. I try to recommend it to everyone, but it falls on deaf ears sometimes, which is such a shame. But as for my all-time favorite show, I actually do have an answer for that, and that is undoubtedly The Wire. I know it sounds like I'm kind of exaggerating a bit here, but I genuinely believe that The Wire is one of the best pieces of media ever made. I don't think anything will equal it in my lifetime, and trust me, I'm not just being over the top here. I actually just think it is a work of genius. But yeah, like I said, no particular favorites apart from The Wire. But yeah, 2021 is done. Last video of the year. I look forward to next year, seeing what we can do then. I look forward to the channel growing and hopefully doing more with that growth as well. But otherwise, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you next year. Okay? Bye-bye.